All right. I am very sorry. This is my last session, and I paid $100 extra to bring all my materials. And what you have on your tables is it. So you're going to have to share, but we had some empty tables. Oh, here, I'll bring one. So you guys can have, at least I was hoping to have one every two, and then I can share. Oh, you guys have one there. Okay, good. Good. All right. So I have a packet on the tables. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation because I gave that yesterday, and hopefully all of you were in that. So today is the deeper dive into our program. So you can take anything, thing that's helpful and take it back to your states and your joining forces effort. But I wanted to kind of talk through the process that Minnesota goes through for our yellow ribbon communities to become yellow ribbon networks. So first you'll see there's a brochure, and if you open the front flap of the brochure, you'll see all the key areas that we asked to come together and form a steering committee within a community. And we need them all at the table. And you'll also see a framework for the minimum requirements that we ask of them. So for example, we ask that they identify military children in the school district. We ask that they have support military connected employees in their businesses. We ask that the veterans organizations raise the bar to the already great programs they have to ensure that they are identifying military connected residents. So those are all things that we do. Then we show them that brochure, but then we do a 90-minute training and kickoff. And in the kickoff, they get the rest of the packet. So the first part of the packet is the Yellow Ribbon Recognition Program, and that's this, looks like this. It has all the key areas represented. When we have the kickoff, we want all these people represented there. We want youth programs, any youth programs you can think of, 4-H, scout troops, we want all them represented. We want the school district represented. We want all your social services, that type of thing, so that we have a big community kickoff. At our community kickoff, we identify them to our support partners in the community. So we have 6 support partners that surround our yellow ribbon networks. We have the Family Assistance Center, Family Readiness Support Assistance, the County Veteran Service Officer, the local ESGR rep, the local DEED Veteran Employment rep, and the unit representative if it's an Army or Air Base community. All those people are at the kickoff to make sure that we're surrounding the community with support. Now, if you open this packet, you'll see 2 columns for each key community area. The left column is the minimum requirement we ask of them, and the right column is how other communities have met that minimum requirement, or ideas or best practices that they can do to meet that minimum requirement. Now, you'll see some minimum requirements are pretty black and white. You have to identify children in the school district. Okay, then you identify how that is. You identify how you're going to do that. You're going to have a checkbox, and all the ideas are on the right. But you're going to have a checkbox when they register to say they're a military family. You're going to allow the Yellow Ribbon Network to have a table at all school events. We give them many ideas of how they can fulfill that minimum requirement. That's pretty black and white. But if you look at some of the other minimum requirements, such as under city leaders, show full support of this effort in your community. Well, there's lots of ways they can do that, and there's lots of ideas. We're changing this best practice list all the time. So there's lots of ideas and ways that they can do that. And we rely on the steering committee to raise the bar high. So when the city leaders or school district says, we think we'd like to do this, we want the steering committee to say, what else can you do? So that they have a really robust action plan. Then the action plan template matches up with the minimum requirement best practice document. So you'll see the minimum requirements for each key area, again repeated in the action plan template. In the once they complete their action plan, and again, all of our key partners are helping them through the process. And you know, a FAC or a FERSA or ESGR rep, they can't make every single meeting that the steering committee has, but they make as many as they're able, and they help them along with the action plan review, action plan process. And as you heard me say yesterday, what we have found doesn't matter how big the community is. We have found it takes on average about 6 to 12 months if they're truly following our 16-step process to become a yellow ribbon community, to have their action plan ready to go for state approval. So it's about a 9 to 12 month process. So then also in your packet you have a 16-step process, and through that process We ask the communities, follow this to a T, because I guarantee you, you're going to have a robust action plan. And what the 16-step process has asked them to do is, as a steering committee body, remember this cross-community steering committee, you all are inviting key players to the table from each of those areas and methodically going through your community to gain their support and to hear what they're doing already, and any gaps they have and what they plan to do, and to gain their commitments. So by the time you're done, the steering committee has touched every area of the community. And always, again, no matter if it's a small community, we find that the steering committee had no idea that the local church was having free babysitting for any family in the community on Friday nights. Well, let's direct some military families there. They had no idea that the veterans organizations had some support programs that they could have tapped into. So that's what we're finding, is the steering committee really learns what's going on in the community and is that great connector within the community. Now, when their action plan is done, they followed their 16-step process and their action plan is done, they have me back for the action plan review meeting. That's their final meeting before I take it to the state. I sit with them, or we VTC, depending on where it is in the state, or I head up there. We look through their action plan, and I ensure that they've met all the minimum requirements, make sure the community isn't using acronyms, make sure that their commitments are specific, that type of thing. Not just vague, wimpy commitments. Someday we're going to do this. No, we're going to do this by this time, and here's who's going to own it. So that they're really clear on what their commitments are. The last Wednesday of every month at 3 o'clock is the State Action Plan Review Board, if I have an action plan to approve. That is made up of leaders from Veterans Affairs, Military Affairs, and Governor Dayton's staff. So it's a rotating leader meeting, so whoever can make it, and they take it very seriously. From Chief of Staff, in our office, to the Assistant Adjutant Generals, to our Executive Director. Most often, our Veterans Affairs, the Commissioner, has taken this as a personal, we have a separate Veterans and Military Affairs. The Commissioner takes it very personally. He has a dog-eared, he won't let me give him a new one, he has a dog-eared action plan that's totally marked up and everything, and he looks to make sure they've met all the minimum requirements. So they review the action plan and give their final approval, and that's when we do the big proclamation. Once a community is proclaimed, again, as you heard me mention yesterday, they have an opportunity to have a sign that says they're a yellow ribbon community outside their, through our Minnesota Department of Transportation. But they have two requirements they have to do ongoing. They have to fill out a checklist, which is also in your packet. This is an annual checklist that needs to be completed. And as you'll see, as you look at the checklist, it does a couple things. The checklist allows you, I'll leave you guys my show and tell, so you have an extra packet there. It allows them to make sure the volunteers are all there, the cross-community representation is there, that people have abided by their commitments in each of the key areas, and that they have connected with key partners. What we found is while the FACs and FERSs and County Veteran Service Officers were often at meetings, they weren't given an opportunity always to have be on the agenda of the committee to say, here are the initiatives I'm working on, here are the needs in our area, and here's how you can partner. So we make them do that within the checklist once a year. The other thing we're able to do is we're able to flex the checklist every year to where the needs are. So this year we lost, and I'm sure as many of you, we lost some of our personal financial counselors at the state level to be able to help our service members. So this year we want, even though it was a minimum requirement in the network, we wanted to put, not only put that in the checklist, if you look at number 11 in the checklist, but not only to put that in the checklist to say, do you have a financial literacy resource within your network? Are they still valid and going? But just in case you don't, we're going to share with you the phone number of the state financial professional association pro bono team, and they will find someone for you. So we worked it out with them to make sure that they could find someone for each network. So then, until you've done that, don't check that off on your checklist. Now, in 61 of our 90 networks, I have a unit rep at the table. So they've been assigned, and they have to report up through their chain of command quarterly at our quarterly readiness conference, 4 items. They have to report that they have connected with the Yellow Ribbon Network at least 4 times. They've attended at least 4 meetings, or they've connected with the POC in some way. They have to show that they have to get the checklist in annually. They are responsible to get their Yellow Ribbon Network checklist up through to my office. The third one is they have to ensure that they've recognized a Yellow Ribbon Network volunteer as a unit, that they have publicly recognized a Yellow Ribbon Network volunteer. And then the fourth one is that they've attended a Joining Community Forces Minnesota event. So we have one a year. We hold it 5 times across the state. Now this is where we bring in all the key support partners in the area, the ISFAC or RISFACs that you all have. All of those partners come to the Joining Community Forces Minnesota, all the Yellow Ribbon Network representatives and all the unit representatives and our key support partners. So everyone attends. We do 3 things at that Joining Community Forces event. We recognize volunteers, which goes so far. You just can't believe how much that's been. They love it. They love to be recognized. It's really incredible. We recognize volunteers, have the tag or one of his general officers always opens up our Joining Community Forces Minnesota events and recognizes a couple volunteers. Number 2, we update them on initiatives. We don't want the networks recreating the wheel. We update them on all the initiatives that are happening that they need to know about and all the resources they need to know about. And number 3, most important of all, which they continue to ask for more and more time, is to share best practices and allow them to share best practices. This has been so effective our first year with our Joining Community Forces Minnesota event that one of our networks shared how they recognize graduating seniors going into the armed forces. They even buy them a tassel for their motorboard for graduation. And what a great way it was to connect with military families from the very beginning of their service and support their parents when someone's at basic training, or just know that they have a military member in their community. Well, this was shared at our first Joining Community Forces event, and all the networks started doing it. And it was so effective because they were catching those newly enlisted military families. So I made it a minimum requirement. We changed that minimum requirement under the youth section, so you'll see that under the youth section. So it's where we get feedback from the Yellow Ribbon Networks at our Joining Community Forces events. And we're able to kind of adjust and take those best practices and share them across the state. We have seen, as you heard me say yesterday, we have seen how we are able to activate many people very, very quickly through our Yellow Ribbon Networks. We're able to ensure that the school districts, the business community, the veterans organizations are involved at the network level, and we're truly being able to make things happen within the state very, very quickly through our networks. So that's the process. Darla's going to put these out. I'm going to put them out. I sent them PDF, but I'm going to send them Word because I've had feedback. You can take these, repurpose them, reword them, put your state name in there, whatever you need. You take it and take whatever would work for your state from us, because we have seen really huge success in having some of these processes as opposed to just going into a community and saying, here, these are great ideas. It was when we started doing the black and white processes that really things came together for us in Minnesota. So I'll stand for any questions that anyone has.
I just want to make a comment. When I had heard about this program and position, because we're trying to create that position in Delaware and it's not too far out, I said to her, I don't want to, look, imagine the work that went into this, right? I mean, I can't even imagine. And I said to her, rather than, me recreating this, can I, tweak and make it Delaware? She said, absolutely, whatever you need. And she's so responsive, she's so helpful, that if you don't use her in your state, it's a
thanks, Don.
for you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're willing to help in any. And we're 5 years in, so you're seeing a finished product 5 years in, and we've definitely learned along the way. And some things we did really, really well. We really set the minimum requirements, stood by them, did not let any community go underneath the minimum requirements. We've really have held the bar high. So that's been really key. The other thing is that getting all of our support partners to the table has been key. Because it can't be just the Guard telling these communities what to do. Yes, ma'am?
Is this your process something that you developed on your own, or did you use some of the building community capacity toolboxes that are out there? For example, there is one, the Health is Equal 2020s, and similar to public health planning, but it's about building community capacity and, you know, mobilizing effort, assessing needs, similar things that we're doing. So I was just curious about where you kind of designed it on your own.
We just built them, yeah. We just, I mean, literally, I was a volunteer. I worked for Target at the time, and my team was helping to write the curriculum shells for the reintegration training, and everything at Target is about process documentation. So I partnered with the family programs director at the time, and her and I just started, you know, we used a first community as a guinea pig, what works, what didn't. So we did a lot of that, but not much has changed from the very original template we used, except we added some more specifics to some of the minimum requirements. Other than that, we pretty much got it right from the get-go. So, but no, we didn't bring in any of those professional.
I went to the state family program training. Did Captain Sanger?
Oh yeah. Well, it was Lieutenant Colonel Barbara Riley came in and really helped put this together, but Captain Stinger worked for her. Yeah. So that was, yes, ma'am.
How do you measure the effectiveness of the program?
So we measure it in several ways. Through the unit reps, they have to report up those 4 criteria that they have to do. And by having the checklist, by having a completed checklist, we will have the strongest yellow ribbon network by having everyone at the table, meeting their commitments, connecting with those support partners. So it's our assumption that if you have all these things on the checklist, you're going to be meeting the needs in your community. So the checklist is one way. The second is our family assistance centers, which have become key for us, FAC. So each yellow ribbon network knows who their family assistance center person is. They're there from the very beginning. When a need request comes in from any avenue to a yellow ribbon network, the FAC documents that. The FAC may or may not be involved in getting their request met because the community may have it. The community may have the request. But what the FAC does is they follow up to see if the yellow ribbon network met the need. And so then we have a spreadsheet. So right now we're at 92% effective that our yellow ribbon networks have literally met the need, that they have called and followed up. They have called and snow shoveled. They have called and did, okay. But then what's neat is from the Family Assistance Center roll up to me, I'm able to see, oh, this yellow ribbon network, you know, way up in northern Minnesota, they're not answering their calls. What's going on? And I'm able to react really quickly to what's, what that is. I call a key support partner. I call the unit rep. You need to figure out what's going on. How come the POC isn't getting back? So we have the metrical measurements that the units have to abide by. We have the checklist, and we have the FAC following up with the effectiveness. So those are, it's nothing fancy. They follow up by it's a spreadsheet. So we don't have any kind of fancy computer software or anything like that.
So your wing is also considered a FAC?
Yes, our wing is considered a FAC. Yep. So they do the same thing.
That's what I was going to ask, if you're involved with the wing and all.
Yes. So they're at the table too. I should call it both, sorry. I think I call it both in the checklist. I hope I do. Double check me, but
if I can comment too, and why I reached out to Annette was, she was the only state that I knew of that had a military community outreach director. So Minnesota is always forward thinking of, like now they're saying, oh, we're going to each get this coordinator in 16. Well, they've had theirs. How long have you been in your position?
I'll be 5 years in April.
And so Delaware wants to have that position because it is a full-time job, and the TAG's working on getting a state position for it. I wanted Annette's position description because I knew that she had such an effective program there. But I think you were the only person.
Well, and I highly recommend that this position is a state position, if you can do that, and it's not buried under family programs. I'm sorry. That's Annette's opinion. It gave me a lot of flexibility to have twice monthly statuses with the tag to say, here's how this program's working, here's how it's not. To be able to tell the tag that I needed your commanders to report at the quarterly readiness conference where they're at with their yellow ribbon networks and their armory communities and air base communities. That I needed a way to pull these metrics up through the units, and I needed them to abide by 4 things to keep their yellow ribbon network sustained. And let's bring that through. That I mean, I'm sure family programs could have done that. I just don't think we would have been able to do it as quickly or as effectively. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I know everyone's a little different. But it really gave me a flexibility. And in Minnesota, I don't know about all of you, but in Minnesota, they are very serious about their engagement policy, like who engages who in the community. A captain in family programs could not have engaged in our organization, could not have engaged a vice president at Target or a mayor of one of our large cities even, or a chamber of commerce president. It just wasn't, that level of engagement was very clear within our organization. So I was able to have the same level of engagement as the tag, basically,
And because of that, you're on your tag special staff.
Right. So I'm in all his commanders' meetings. I have twice monthly statuses with him. Beyond the Yellow Ribbon was a line of effort that I am responsible for. So I report just like, I report at the Quarterly Readiness Conference. It's my line of effort that I'm overseeing. Now, suicide prevention and resilience and family programs and youth fall under that. But I'm the reporter. I'm the owner of that whole line of action within his organization.
Identifying children in the community. We've always operated under, you don't identify to a school who those children are of the service member who's deploying or of the service member, that it's up to the service member to let the school know. So how do you do that?
Right. So same thing. We tell, service member to let the school know. Identifying children, we always get that question at the training. Oh my gosh, I'm a school district. You want me to give my kids' addresses to the Yellow Ribbon Network? No. We want you internally to know who's a military-connected youth. And we want you to do everything you can to identify those military-connected children. So that means, ask the parents, encourage the parents to tell them if they're experiencing a deployment, those kinds of things. So yeah, it's not, but no, we're asking that you internally to the school know who your military connected youth are, because we don't have an active duty installation in Minnesota, so we don't have, we have military kids all over the place and they have no idea. They have and our school districts did not know, zero resources did they know about. In fact, they even said to us, we don't have any military children, and they were shocked that we have over 23,000 in Minnesota. So it really helped us raise the bar and educate school administrators for that. But it's an internal, and it's all of us working together. So that's other big question I get is, how do you find military families? Well, in a Yellow Ribbon Network, everybody, as you can see in the minimum requirements, everybody's working on finding those military families. The churches are connecting military families to the Yellow Ribbon Network. It's a minimum requirement. The Veterans Organization is doing it. Everybody's helping connect to the Yellow Ribbon Network. So we're unearthing military families all over the place. Or military-connected people, parents.
And it's not that easy, like with getting to her question about the schools, because when I talked to Dr. Biden, I said, it would be so nice for the schools to know who their military youth are, and if there was a process in place to identify those youth within the districts and within the state. But the federal government can't dictate that to the state government. So it has to come from within your state.
And the bottom line, the families have to reach out. They just have to reach out, and in fact, that's a lesson learned. We trained our families to reach out to the Yellow Ribbon Network when they needed help, which during deployment was great. What I wish we would have done is tell our families, our military families, reach out to the Yellow Ribbon Network and let them know you live in this community. Join their efforts to help. Become a volunteer. That's our new messaging that we're sending out now. I wish we had sent that from the beginning, because it became I'm just going to call the Yellow Ribbon Network when I have a problem. So that was a lesson learned that we had. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all very much. Let me know. I have my card. I have extra cards. I do have extra cards, so if you need some extra business cards. But Darla's going to put these out in Word format so you can repurpose them in any way that you would like. Thank you.